Hey guys, Kitty of Burn One. This is going to be my tournament report for the Indianapolis Regional. I just went to this past weekend. I ended up 13th place. Unfortunately, barely missing top cut. Lost a really close game to the guy who actually won first place the round for the win in to top cut. Um, so this regional, actually compared to other regionals I've been to, was actually ran fairly smoothly. There was only one repair because of an accidental drop. I think in round three or something, they dropped someone who was like 2-0 at that point. But everything else was pretty good. It wasn't that big of a regional. This is the first regional I've been to in the Midwest. Before, I'm used to regionals hitting like 250 people when I played in Southern California and lived out there. So overall, the regional metagame was like it's pretty healthy. That's one thing about English Weiss I think is a little bit better than Japanese Weiss sometimes, especially when you're playing in Japan. That you hit a lot of the same decks over and over again, especially in the more competitive shop tournaments. But the regional here, I hit like a lot of different decks and saw a lot of different decks being played. One thing though, I think with the way Bouchard always handles their events, it being free, the first few rounds are usually just like AFK and let your opponent kill themselves because they either don't know how to actually play the game at a competitive level, or they have very poorly built decks. All right, so let's see. Here is the deck I ended up using. If you guys are interested in the deck tech, I do have a video for it. You can check it out. I made no changes going in to the regional and ended up going 4-2 overall. One of the games that I lost was completely my fault. I fumbled really, really bad on my first refresh. But I'll get into that once I get to the match. Um, After playing Sunshine at this event, I really think Sunshine has a lot of potential. There is some small changes I might want to make in this if I decide to play it again when I go to the next regional. I think in June. It's the Newark event regional. I think that's in June. I might go to the Toronto one too, depending if I have enough free time to fly out there or whatever. I find some people to split the hotel cost with at least. Um, One thing about this deck that I really, really like, and I think a lot of people sleep on, kinda for the most part, is that Chica, the level 1 Chica climax combo, is like a really bad double-edged sword, especially if you're not hitting one first. It can be really, really bad. But one thing I think a lot of people don't really realize is that if you can consistently hit level 1 first and force them to have things out on their field, you can plus really hard off of like just playing two Chicas or even a full field of Chicas. That's like basically the dream play for me, is if they have a full field going and I'm going into level 1 and I'm able to play three Chicas, because usually the stuff at 0 can't beat like 4,000 power, or even with the support 4,500 power. So usually you can combo off, kill their character, salvage, and still have a level 1 suicider or bomb and on their next turn. So they have to run into it, and it opens up their field. That way the next turn you're going 2-2-2 two turns in a row on the soul damage, which is very, very potent in my opinion. I think the only change that I'm looking at in this deck is I actually might drop a couple of those level 0 Maris and replace them with the level 0 Daya, the top check one, because that card is really good opening up. If I don't open up with a runner, I really like opening up with that level 0 Daya on games I'm playing first. And then also it helps you accelerate yourself a little bit more to level 1 to guarantee you hitting one first, so you can punish them a little bit harder. Everything else in the deck actually went out pretty well. I really ended up liking the one of Ruby level 2. It did its job. There was a couple matches where it paid out stock and replaced stock exactly the way I wanted it. Level 2 beater. It helped me dodge anti-counter occasionally, things like that. It was or not anti-counter, anti-damage and stuff like that. It was a really solid pick to put in this deck. I really like it as a one of. Also, it turned out the Yakisoba event was a lot of fun. I did almost kill 2 people with it. Unfortunately, canceling on 5 sucks when I'm about to kill them. Level 3, the rest of the level 3 game though was great. The one of Yohane or Yoshiko was amazing against one Tularu matchup where I was afraid of them being able to anti-damage counter. So all I did was ended up setting up side attacks for 1-1-1 when they were at 3-5, and unfortunately for them, they lost. And then yeah, that's about it for the deck. Those are like the main change. Like I said, would probably definitely be the level 0 Dia game. I'd probably at least bump that up to 2, maybe 3. I think 3 might be overkill. But yeah. All right, let's get into the matches I went. I did end up having a bye round 1 from the shop championship stuff, so easy win there for round 1. Didn't have to deal with more random RNG elements. The second round, I was paired against an Ilya player. It was Kaleidoscope, and they used the combo to pull out the 1-1 Kuro. That game was fairly easy. I think what happened was my opponent kind of misplayed a little bit, and then just kind of fell behind from right from the get-go. So it just let me dominate the whole match and control the flow of the match, and then I just easily won that one. The third round of the tournament, I ended up playing against Tularu. It actually was not the Yami build, though they might have had Yami in the deck. I really didn't pay enough attention. It was mostly the animal deck, the red deck. That was a pretty interesting build and stuff, since I've actually never played the animal version of Tularu. But my opponent ended up falling really behind early game. I was able to recognize that he was just out all his climaxes really early, so let me punish him with playing a climax a couple times in a row, and then, like I said earlier, that Chica bomb I got to 1 and then killed all their stuff with Chica combo, and then they swung into Chica. They had a clear field again, and then I punished them again with being able to be 3-3-3, and they just ate a lot of damage. And honestly, I want to say turn 3 they were already level 3 in that game, so it was a fairly easy win from there. They were at level 3 for a few turns, since I had to play a lot slower, since my hand size was dwindling some, and I wanted to make sure I didn't overstep myself and then end up eating a bunch of damage in return and losing the game. Next, round 4, I played against a Sword Art Online player. It was the generic Silica Yuki build. That game, unfortunately, that's the game where I punted really, really bad. Before my first refresh, I triggered double shot trigger, and I knew I triggered double shot trigger. And for whatever reason, I played out the scenario in my mind where my opponent was taking his turn, and knew exactly what I needed to do to get out of that situation and refresh with 7 in my deck. And I kind of just started thinking about something else or something. My mind wandered for whatever reason. And then when my opponent ended his turn, I did the things I needed to do, but I did it out of order. So I ended up forcing myself to refresh before putting the 2 climaxes back in. So I ended up refreshing with 5 climaxes instead of 7, which really screwed me over, since my brainstorm immediately after that milled 2 more climaxes. So I had a 3 climax deck with 30 cards in it. Luckily, my opponent didn't punish me that bad, so it made me able to stay in the game. And then I was able to use the Yakisoba counter in this matchup and almost kill them. But unfortunately, I barely lost that game after making such a horrible misplay. It just turns out that Shinon Burn 4 is pretty annoying. My 5th round in, I played against TLR again, but this was the Yami build. This was the one where the game went fairly standard for the most part. We both did our own thing, and then we hit level 3, and he was at 3-5, and then I was able to set up the field where I sided for 1-1-1 and to just hit him for 2 at the end since he was at 3-5. It was a fairly standard game for the most part. Nothing really noteworthy there, I think, other than me trying to deny him using the anti-damage counter, but it turns out he didn't have it in his hand anyway. And then finally, round 6. This was the round where I was at X1 still, and so me and my opponent both were. Whoever wins this one is going to be in top 8 for sure. Unfortunately, I just ate a lot of damage early, and then ended up having to kind of crawl my way back into the game. Luckily for me, my opponent just couldn't kill my early play Hanamarus once I got to level 2. So it made it so I didn't have to clock for like five or six turns in a row or something ridiculous like that. And I just had to keep overplaying Hanamaru's, especially once I hit level 3 to keep my damage down and not stay within range for him to kill me. My opponent got really aggressive early on, and I wasn't drawing enough zeros to combat his field at 0. So it gave him a big enough advantage at 0 that his hand size didn't dwindle that bad. But by the time he got to level 3, it was pretty bad. He really didn't have much options for what he could play. He was just running things in over and over again into my Hanamaru. And then on the final turn before I lost that game, it was a really close game. If I changed the attack order a little bit, I would have actually won that game. And unfortunately, on my last attack I triggered the stock soul, so I ended up attacking for 4 instead of 2, which was what I needed to end the game. And then on the next turn, I thought I was compressed enough to live. Unfortunately, it's never the case. So I ended up barely losing that game. But it was a really fun game. It was probably my favorite game that whole day, just for how back and forth it was. And then unfortunately I stuck around after that, and no one got DQ'd from deck check. Luckily this time around, I know Bushiroad events, for whatever reason, people really love failing their deck check. But yeah, that's about it for the tournament. I don't think anything else special happened really. The 2 losses I had was the Cinderella Girls player for my last match, who ended up actually getting first. And I've heard that he's missed like barely winning a lot of these regionals, so congratulations to him for finally getting first. And then the Sword Art Online player ended up getting third. I believe he ended up at third at the end of the tournament, which I'm pretty sure he was very happy about. But I think that's about it. If you guys end up having any other questions about the deck or anything like that, just let me know. I'll gladly go over anything. But yeah, hopefully the next regional coming up I do better and make it to top 8. I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't make top 8. I definitely feel at the end of the day it was mostly my fault for not getting top 8, especially when I really dropped the ball on that Sword Art Online matchup I had when I was actually ahead for quite a while, I believe. Like, not super far ahead, but I just felt like I had a lot more control in that game until that happened. I think later this week, hopefully I'll have a couple more deck techs out, or I can talk more about the meta and stuff. But I really think Sunshine is in a really good spot right now in the English meta for the most part. It does suck that the end game is not the best in the world, but you can really do a lot with this deck, honestly, once you get pretty good at controlling the flow of the matchup, especially really early with the combos and the 0 gameplay. Well, if you guys like this video, just like, comment, subscribe. Ask away in the comments below. I'll try to answer whatever questions you guys end up having. And if you have any content you would like to see, just go ahead and comment and I'll see what I can do. Have a good day. Have a good day, guys.